Every day I'm nostalgic for Baghdad. I think it's strange to be in a place that doesn't feel real to me anymore. To be in a place where lawns are manicured and things function and life seems to work even though so many places, I know at this moment, not just Iraq, there are so many places where people are suffering and maybe they've lost a family member or all those types of things, and I feel out of touch with it. And so it's really hard to be in DC and to be in a place that feels so like life is easy and everything's fine.
Is it too comfortable?
Almost, yeah. I mean, I've spent some time even with the homeless here in DC, which I actually feel more comfortable doing because I'm used to seeing that kind of poverty and those types of people that really don't get to have a voice in public places and in public space. And so some of that, it brings me back to reality, but just the idea that, you know, you can wake up in the morning and go to Starbucks, pick up your paper, read about all the horrible things happening in the world, and then go to your nice air-conditioned office and everything is over. So it's really hard, and you feel a bit guilty that you can have that life. Well, you know, it's not predictable. That's the one thing. Sometimes it could be even boring. Maybe nothing will happen. And then there are the really horrible days where, you know, an incident might kill 300 people. An incident might kill somebody who's close to you or close to somebody who you love. It might be that you get up at 8 and you don't go to bed until 2 because you're trying to report everything that's going on around you, either be it politically or militarily or socially. So every day is completely different, completely different. Everything. I mean, that was my life. That's the other thing is that was my life. My life was waking up and seeing what the day would bring and writing about it and sending it home so other people could know. And all of a sudden, I'm not connected to it anymore. And I can go through an entire week if I wanted to and never read about it. And that scares me, and it scares me that so many people can do that if they want to in their lives, just ignore it completely. Not just about Iraq, but everywhere. You know, is it Afghanistan or Sudan or Somalia, all those places. And the other thing I miss is the people I worked with. I mean, I had an amazing staff who I consider family because we went through some of the most difficult times together. And some of those times were much more difficult, of course, for them because I got to leave when I wanted to leave. And they don't ever get to leave if nobody offers them asylum. So that's what I miss. I miss them. I miss being around them. We were around each other sometimes 18 hours a day and writing about some of the most horrific and horrible things together. And there's a bond that can't be broken in doing that. Well, I think every story in the end should be something that is important and that might change the world. Maybe that one story won't do it, but every story that comes after it and every story that somebody does a follow-on, whether it be the homeless here in DC or in Iraq. But yes, you have an objective and a purpose in the sense that you need to make sure that nothing is forgotten and unheard and unseen. Because if it is unseen and unheard, who's going to be the one to intervene or rectify that situation? Well, you know, it's something that's so hard to measure. There were times in the beginning of my time there, I was there about almost 3 years, and that I didn't feel safe ever at any moment, whether I was at home in our office or out reporting in the field, because people were dying all the time and getting killed all the time, and it wasn't something that you could even understand sometimes why it happened. And then there are other days where I felt completely safe, and near the end of my time there, it had gotten a bit better, and we were going out to dinner, and we were going to parts of the country I hadn't seen before, because it was a trial and error process. Oh, let me try this. Let's see if it got safer. So sometimes I didn't feel in danger at all. Maybe I was, but nothing happened. So, and other days, you know, you really feel that something really horrible could happen to you that day. So I picked up a kind of, I guess, an Iraqi habit, or I don't know, to sort of reflect at the beginning of the day in case it wasn't the same at the end, in case somebody who you really loved wasn't with you any longer, or you yourself were a changed person. How many people have lost limbs, and anything could change. Well, there was there was one day where the beginning of the day was completely different than anything when our hotel was bombed. We got waken up by the double bombing at our hotel, and that day was frightening. But thank God none of us were killed in the hotel. You know who was killed? The people on the other side of the blast wall that weren't targeted. Those 8 people from that complex that just had the bad luck of living next to a good target. Well, some of it, in some cases, you have more help being a reporter there than being a reporter here in D.C. in the sense that you have to have such a system set up as if every mission is Mission Impossible. You know, when I went out, we went out with 2 drivers and at least 1 translator at the time, and so we always had backup plans, and we would map out the route because you have to see where you're going and what will happen and who was the last person you contacted if you go missing. And so that's quite stressful, actually, though, because every moment of your life, every minute of your life is accountable to somebody, and nothing is just about, you know, having some downtime or personal time. Everybody needs to know where you are at all times because that might be the last place you were before you went missing. So that's extremely stressful. The other thing is every decision you make could be fatal, and that's not something you have to deal with in jobs that are not in conflict. So when I made a decision as bureau chief to go to a bombing with somebody, did I put that person's life in danger? Do I get us killed? If I tell somebody, go out to this neighborhood and see what's happening, and they don't come back, that's my fault. And so that's one of the most difficult, I think, parts of the job, because you have to live with that decision if it was the wrong decision. We had fun together, you know. Sometimes my staff and I, we would have impromptu parties, if you will, you know, whether it be, you know, celebrating a birthday or just playing music on our laptops and hanging out, watching a movie together. You know, we would do those things or just laugh together sometimes and not think about the story for half an hour or even an hour if it was allowed. So we did that. And the other thing is you just surround yourself with good people that, which we luckily have at McClatchy, and so if you're around those people, you are a support system for each other. And thankfully I got to take a week off every once in a while, but of course a lot of my staff didn't because that's their country and they go home and that's their life and their reality every day.
Do you think
Yeah, I fear that we will forget about it, that it will go from the front pages to the middle pages to the back pages to the no pages. And that doesn't mean the story is going to be over. It just means that we're not going to talk about it anymore. And the thing that broke my heart when I left was that I felt that things were getting worse. They had gotten better. They still weren't good, but a lot of people described it as good enough. But they felt that they were going down the drain, and all the words of different factions I talked to were fighting words, and everything that I saw in the future from the interviews I was doing weren't good. And when that moment comes where it gets so much worse and when lives are being lost again, I mean, one person told me he thinks the future holds much more death than that we've already seen. Then who writes about it? And maybe there won't be anyone there to see it or hear it, and then it didn't happen. I don't know, someday. I mean, every day that I'm here, you struggle with that decision of having a life of comfort and the luxury of walking by yourself to any location and having a home and not being worried about who's in the car next to you on the street. And then at the same time, there's all these things happening that are important to me and that I feel responsible for and that I feel like I should be witnessing, or at least somebody who is honest and ethical should be witnessing. And I think, yeah, I should go back. We all should go back if we're in this business, to that story and to other stories.